Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Tea with Nikki and NYC, and I am she. This evening, we are going to be looking at sales and rentals in Manhattan and Brooklyn for the month of August 2024. This evening, I've been enjoying a delicious hibiscus ginger chamomile tea. It's wonderful. Don't ask me what brand it is because I don't remember. Yay. All right. Okay, so let's actually just jump right in. Let me pull up the relevant slides, and we are going to start. I'm just going to boot myself down here, this side, so that way you folks can actually pay attention to the stats. Let's start off with Manhattan. All right, so, oops, actually that is the wrong slide. Hold on, that's for sales. Hold on. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to be starting with sales. All right, as you can see, contracts signed, we're pretty kind of, flat, kind of, in terms of month over month as well as year over year. This is kind of to be expected. We do see a little bit of an increase on an annual basis thanks to improved interest rates. However, where there was a month over month decrease, which is something that is pretty typical of seasonality. Now, in terms of what happened with the price per square foot, because as you can see, it's down compared to last year this time and down by 4% compared to July. This is just a little bit misleading because this decline was primarily due to condos. There actually were a number of really high-end co-op sales north of $2,500 per square foot that happened. That actually dragged the average price per square foot up for co-ops, but on the whole, because of a pretty significant decline in condo prices, that's why you're seeing these prices go down. So if you're a seller, don't get too alarmed by this, and if you're a buyer, don't get too excited. All right. In terms of active listings, again, as you can see, just a little uptick compared to last year, but down month over month, again, as expected due to seasonality, because during the month of August, people are off doing summer things. They're not really thinking about property searches, and a lot of people are trying to get in those last vacations before fall hits. All right, so let's move over to Brooklyn. So Brooklyn, we actually do have some notable things that happen in the month of August. Like, look at that number of contracts signed. They were up a really healthy amount compared to the previous year, and that's due to two things. Number one, better interest rates compared to last year this time. And number two, look at the bottom here regarding active listings. Do you see that? Up by 34%. That is a huge jump on a year over year basis. So understandably, buyers were really encouraged by that you combine that with the interest rates, and you had more people getting back into the market and more people actually being willing to sign deals. In terms of price per square foot, again, this average is just a little bit misleading. Co-op prices actually fell by 14% in the month of August. That wasn't necessarily due to price reductions so much as the nature of the inventory that was out there, while condo prices actually increased by 6%, and the two of them kind of offset one another, which is why you're seeing these kinds of figures. Now, in terms of the inventory, so both contract signed and inventory declining on a month-per-month basis is again to be expected in line with typical kind of seasonality trends. So neither of those come as a surprise. It's exactly what we'd expect for this time of year. All right, now let's finally actually hop over to rentals, the slide that I accidentally started with. Oops, that's what happens when you go live. All right, so the rental market in Manhattan roared back in the month of August, because as you can see, leases signed were up on a year-over-year basis, and they were up really strongly on a month-over-month basis. And the reason for that, look at what happened with the median rent. Finally getting a bit of relief on prices. This is one of the first times that we've seen the median rent post any sort of meaningful decline in quite some time in Manhattan. So very exciting news for renters. They were encouraged by that. So, and then you combine that with the active listing situation. I know that this doesn't really look impressive right now, only 1% compared to August of last year and down slightly compared to July. But this level of inventory at the 8,000 level is actually really, really good, because we had some moments there where inventory was in like the 6s and the 7s and stuff. So this is a much better inventory situation for renters. So you combine all of that, and that made for a much more robust rental market during the month of August. And again, as we kind of look at the average rent per bedroom type, you can see those declines across the board, right? So studios finally down by 5%, one bedroom's down by 0.4%, and just a smidge, that one was a really little decline. Two bedrooms down by 2%, and three bedrooms down by 3%, finally kind of backing off that, you know, eye-popping $10,000 a month, because, oh my God, that's so much money. Okay. All right. So now let's switch to the Brooklyn rental market. So the leases signed situation, again, was the increases that we see on a month-over-month as well as a year-over-year basis were not quite as impressive as what we saw in Manhattan. But then again, the rental market in Brooklyn was a bit stronger in July anyway compared to Manhattan. And part of the reason for that, of course, is as you see with the median rent. So unfortunately, Brooklynites, you did see an annual increase in rent. I'm very sorry. Again, I didn't. This is not my fault, at least not me personally. But as you can see, there was this smidge decline, at least in the month of July. But again, if you were out there searching, it likely didn't make much of a difference. However, one difference that you probably did note is that there should have been at least a decent number of listings. I am so sorry for this bit of a confusing point here, because it looks like I have something that says down. So let me actually just cross-reference that really quick for you folks in order to clarify. Very sorry about that. Please bear with me, people, just because I don't like confusing people when it comes to data. So let me get some clarity on this right quick. So that's Manhattan, Glen. Okay, so let's see what happened here. So as far as active listings, okay, yes. So as far as active listings, that should have posted a decline here. All right, so I'm going to try to correct this slide. So that should have been a decline on an annual basis, or rather on a month-over-month basis. All right, so if you're looking in Brooklyn, your inventory situation was a lot better than it would have been last year this time, although it might not have felt like it if you've been looking for some time. All right, so that's basically the bottom line. And again, we're going to look at those average rent prices, and as you can see, again, it's not really an improved situation for you folks. I'm very, very sorry. It's just, you know, Brooklyn is just incredibly popular, and as you see from the numbers, doesn't quite have the level of inventory that Manhattan does when it comes to rentals at this moment. That may change in the coming months if some of the larger projects that are being built in downtown Brooklyn start to come online. The Gowanus projects, those are a bit further out, but that will have some positive impact in terms of perhaps putting a cap on prices to a certain degree once that inventory actually comes online. All right. So what are some of our takeaways regarding this? So when it comes to sales, all right, unless you've been hiding under a rock or just not paying attention to real estate news whatsoever or market related news, you probably already know that the Fed has finally cut interest rates. Yay! It's the thing that we've been waiting for like all year. When I say we, a lot of us in the real estate industry. Is this going to cause mortgage rates to just nosedive? No. Part of the reason for that is that, first of all, mortgage interest rates don't actually follow the Fed interest rate as closely as people think they do. They actually more closely follow treasuries. But that being said, more importantly, the markets were already pricing in the anticipation that the Fed was actually going to cut rates. They just didn't know if it was going to be by 0.25 basis points or 0.5 basis points. So they did do a more aggressive cut, which should be encouraging. But as to whether or not we're going to see like any sort of really significant change in mortgage rates in the next couple weeks or so, who knows? But don't be surprised if that doesn't happen. Now, the things that it may do, it may encourage more sellers to list their properties. And it may encourage, well, actually, I wouldn't say may. I think it's definitely going to encourage more buyers to get into the market. It's just a matter of how many more actually get into the market. So September, I think, is likely to see, like, once we kind of look back at what's been happening right now in this month in September, as I'm shooting this, we may see continued improvements in inventory and perhaps a higher number of signed contracts, at least compared to what we saw in the previous September and possibly even the one before that, given the differences in the interest rates. Now, when it comes to rentals, renters are finally, I think, starting to catch a break on rents, especially in Manhattan. So yay, but it's not that much of a break. So don't be thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna go back to like 2020, 2021. Yeah, it ain't looking like that. I'm sorry. But again, there are some positive things kind of working out in favor of renters right now. So for example, if more people decide to turn their attention to looking for a place to buy, then that means that you are going to be facing less competition. And we are starting to enter the fall rental season, which tends to be quieter than the summer rental season. So I think that, things could kind of like, the rental market could continue to, I don't know if it's necessarily going to decline that meaningfully just yet, because October 1st is still a very popular move-in date. So we'll need to see what's happening this month. So for right now, I expect a little bit more of the same, and we're probably not going to really see any kind of significant shifts until like maybe November or December, as we get to the holiday season. So again, more of the same. Don't really see the pendulum swinging too strongly either in favor of landlords nor too strongly in favor of renters. So that's what I have for you. Tune in next month for the next edition, and we will see whether any of my projections came true. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Bye, folks.